Thank you to Azikime for your generous support on Patreon.
Huh? This is the bedroom from the house! I stare up at the ceiling, a textured beige ceiling. I'm back in the room where I'd slept. How long ago? A day? A few days? It doesn't matter because everything's comes back to me at once. I feel like a lead weight has just dropped onto my chest, knocking the wind out of me. Fuck, is this not over? Now I'm starting to become convinced that this is never going to end. We're stuck in a loop, just like in my dreams. Another moan, slightly weaker, makes me sit up and look around the room. I'm alone as far as I can tell. Where are the others? Am I actually alone? I can't stop a soft whimper coming from my mouth as the thought of being separated from the others. I was barely keeping it together with Carl, but without him. A loud cough through the wall behind me makes me jump again. I quickly slide off the bed and immediately cringe as my weight comes crashing out on my swollen ankle. Ow! I sag against the bed for a moment, squinting my eyes shut as I wonder why my ankle is only getting stiffer. Maybe the fall Carl had taken made it even worse. The thought that those moans could be coming from Carl spurs me to straighten up and carefully hop towards the door. I have to stifle a short yelp with every bounce, and by the time I reach the door frame, I have to lean against it to catch my breath. My hands shake as I rub my eyes, the pain making me wonder if I'll ever be able to walk without a limp again. Another groan from the room next to me forces me to move again. In the hallway now, I'm able to make out the sounds a bit better and realize that it has a feminine quality to it. Jenna? My voice comes out crackly, in a crackly squeak, and I grunt to clear my throat. Jenna? I try again and wait, and I get no response in return. I force myself to step into the hallway, clinging to the wall for support. When I look down the hallway to the door next to mine, I find something very similar. A damaged wooden door in the middle bulging and splintering out as if something had hit it from the other side. Memories of a bad smell, a dark concrete room, and a noose. I hold tighter to the doorframe, feeling my knees tremble, both from the pain and the fear. I look behind me, hoping to see Carl, maybe even Raven. A shuffling sound followed by another cough and gurgle draws my eyes back to the door. If it's Jenna, I have to act now. I steady myself against the wall and hop slowly to the door. I'm waiting for the pain now. Reaching out with a shaking hand, I start to slowly push the door. I'm hoping that I might be able to crack it open just a little bit and not draw the attention of whatever is inside. The door only shifts a little, though, and seems to catch on the ground underneath it. It lets out a rough scratching sound that makes my fur raise up. Gritting my teeth, I forego this stealthy approach and give it a hard shove. This time it opens halfway and I'm able to see into the room. Just like last time, there's no light coming from within the room itself. Instead, I have to rely on the dim yellow light coming from the hallway. It casts a widening band of light into the concrete room as the door opens. The smell hits me like a wave and I immediately gag, doubling over and pressing a hand to my nose before pulling up the neck of my shirt over my nose. Sure, I smell like B.O. from the 2 days of running in fear, but it's better than the sweet smell of rotting meat that's enveloping me. Oh, God. Still shaking, I peer into the room while I lean against the door and I'm only able to see the cracked concrete floor and walls. The grunting, choking sounds reach a peak now and it's coming from beyond the bond of light. It's in inky blackness. Again with the inky blackness! Why is every blackness inky? I don't know. That isn't all that different from what Carl and I had run through. Hello? No response. It sounds like those grunting has stopped too. Shh, I have to do something now. I think about just kicking the door open and jumping back, but then I remember there's really nothing I can do with my feet right now. Taking a deep breath, I set both hands against the door. I steel myself of what I'm about to see, then shove the door as hard as I can. The door swings open and suddenly scraping horribly against the floor the entire way. I yelp at the suddenness of it all, the tension all exploding out of me all at once. I jump back in fear. The band of light widens, sweeping over the entirety of the concrete room before the door finally lodges against the wall with a snapping sound. I almost lose my balance, arms swinging around cartoonishly as I try to hop on one foot. At the same time, I'm fearfully eyeing the opening, terrified of what I'm about to see. What I do see is definitely terrifying. It's Jenna in the middle of the room. She's hanging from the noose. Her muzzle tilted up so I'm able to clearly see the rope digging into the fur on her neck, painfully tight. Her toes are barely touching the floor, but it doesn't even look like she's trying to keep herself up. It looks like she's unconscious. Jenna! There's no response, and I find myself leaping in her direction. I forget about my ankle until all my weight comes down on it twice in my mad dash, and I literally scream as it happens. There isn't any time to worry about it, though, as I grab at Jenna, unsure of what to do. First, I try to wrap my arms around her and lift her up, screaming again as I set my weight down on my foot. She doesn't respond to any of this and just hangs limp in my arms, which terrifies me even more. I reach up and pluck uselessly at the hangman's knot that I immediately know isn't going to budge no matter how much I pull. Carl, help! I feel myself starting to panic. Desperately, I look around, trying to find something, anything I might be able to use to cut the rope. Jenna? I call up at her. I can't see her eyes from this angle, but I can't feel any movement in her. I try to press my ear against her chest, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the right spot. I try to quiet my breathing and actually listen, but I can't hear anything. Shit, Carl! I feel myself starting to hyperventilate and try again to slow my breathing. If I pass out right now, I'm going to be less help than I already am. The world is starting to take on a surreal tint, and I think I'm actually dreaming. I think about running into the kitchen, but I don't want to let her go, especially since I feel like she's on the edge of dying right now. I reach up again and start trying to worm my fingers underneath the rope, but it's useless. It's way too tight. My eyes start to water as I realize that I'm not helping her at all right now, aside from maybe taking a little pressure off her neck, but it might be too late anyway. Help! I'm suddenly hyper aware of the screaming pain in my ankle, and I feel it giving out. So my arms, burning with the strain of trying to hold Jenna up, I press my face against her chest, feeling myself start to give up on everything. And suddenly the weight disappears, and I feel Jenna lift up several inches into the air. I look up and see Carl next to me, his big arms easily able to keep the fox off the ground. Not only that, but he's got a knife in one hand. I recognize it was the same knife Carl had used earlier in the hallway. Carl! I sob in relief as he sits to sawing at the rope, and soon all three of us come crashing to the ground as Jenna's cut free. We lay there in a heaving heap. The only sound is our gasps as we all try to catch our breaths, Jenna's being the loudest. After a while, I sit up and look over at her. She's already sitting up herself, one hand to her neck, rubbing at it. Are you okay? I reach out to her. I'm fine. She leans away a little from my hand, so I drop it. I thought you were going to die, Jenna. My voice is all shuddery, and I struggle to keep my emotions under control to not have a panic attack. Whatever was controlling this whole scenario just tried to kill one of us. But I guess that's already happened with the shadow creature thing, and even with what's happened to Raven. Jenna picks up the knife and brings it up to her neck, starting to saw away the rope. Okay. I can help. She ignores me. I look over at Carl and see that he's flat on his back, arms spread out. Thank you, Carl. I don't know what I would have done if he hadn't shown up. Carl raises a hand in acknowledgement. How the hell did you get a knife? Carl takes a few more gasps to catch his breath. I heard you guys and saw that. He gestures up the hanging rope, and the end of it frizzled out after the cut. Remember that knife I dropped when we were here before? Thank God. We lay there for a while longer, Jenna busy hacking at the rope. Carl choosing to stare up at the ceiling. That almost peaceful silence is shattered as a husky stumbles into the doorframe, clutching onto as he practically trips in. Whoa, hey guys! He grins, waving a hand at us as he rights himself. He looks around at us, taking in the scene. What happened? Jenna got hanged. Carl cut her down. There's really no way to sugarcoat it. Oh, crap! Yeah, that's one fucking way to respond to that shit. Oh, crap! He stares wide-eyed at Jenna. Well, guess it's surprising it wasn't me this time, huh? He lets out a high-pitched, nervous laugh. None of us even crack a smile. You're okay, though? Fine. Raven looks around the room. Well, it looks like we're still here. Carl lets out a big, shuddery breath. I don't know if I can do this anymore. What do you mean? We're stuck. I don't know what else we're supposed to do. Just keep looking around. We're fighting stuff, right? And then what? Get sucked into another fucked up place where we'll be chased around and almost killed? He waves a hand at Jenna's direction. Look what just happened. It wants us dead. Carl. I trail off. What? I try to think of something to say, anything that might convince the ram to keep going. Just a while ago, minutes, hours, days, I was having the same doubts. But for some reason, Carl's sudden demeanor of defeat has me more motivated. Because if Carl gives up, what else is there to keep me going? There's a soft snap, and I look over to see that Jenna's pulled the rope from her throat. How's your neck? Jenna rubs it. Fine. Her voice has an air of complete disinterest despite the situation. She seems distracted too, her eyes flickering around at the ceiling like she's expecting something to happen up there. I look up too, but all I see is concrete that's spiderwebbed with cracks. The rope, I notice, is hanging from nothing. It sort of just grows out of the ceiling. Carl lets out another shuddering sigh next to me. Wish I had a joint. I feel a small flicker of annoyance. And how will that help anything? Carl's quiet for a moment, clearly sensing the change in my mood. I immediately regret it, but I don't have the energy to take it back. Because it might make me feel a little better. By making you feel less? We need to be alert right now so we can figure this out. I bring my tone back down to normal, realizing how unfair it would be to get mad at Carl right now. Just a little while ago, I was having the same doubts. Didn't I already say that? I don't know if we can, though. Carl's lips tug down in a frown, and it looks like he's trying to keep himself from crying. Before I can say anything to comfort him, Jenna speaks up. You will. Her voice is dark, firm, and completely unlike the way Jenna has ever spoken before. Both look at her, and she sits there, legs crossed, staring hard at us. Well, at me. Carl sits up. Jenna? Jenna doesn't look at him. Instead, she keeps looking at me. John? Now she does look at Carl, and it's out of instinct, her eyes darting at him before looking back at me. I recognize it as that almost unstoppable urge to look the way you hear your name being called. Yeah, we had suspected, and Jenna had been acting weird, but to think that she was that consumed by him. Carl glances at me meaningfully. We haven't asked her directly about it yet, so I guess now's the time. Hey Jenna, are you feeling okay? I'm feeling fine. It's just that you haven't seemed like yourself for a while now. What do you mean? I look over at Carl and he shifts himself around on the floor. Listen, when we first got here, and even a little before then, I was feeling weird. Carl pauses. He seems to be searching for the right words. Sort of like something else had become a part of me. Jenna narrows her eyes at Carl, but doesn't say anything. There was another voice in my head almost, and after a while, I knew it was that guy James in my head. Sounds like you're going crazy. Carl frowns. Maybe, but he was making me act different, feel different, and it was kind of fucked up, to be honest. Weird. Yeah, weird, but it was easy to get him out of my head. Carl points at his horns. And now he's not there anymore. Jenna keeps that stern look on her face, frowning at Carl. What are you trying to say? Well, do you know a guy named John Begay? No. I remember the picture I had taken of John back in Carl's crawl space. My hand feels my phone through my pocket, and I almost reached to pull it out before remembering that it's dead. He was in some of the pictures with James Hendricks, the founder of the town. Jenna stares at me blankly. James was Carl's ancestor, and we think that John was your ancestor too. He was a fox and has the same last name. So wasn't your family an Echo since the beginning? Yes. So it seems like you're probably related to him, right? Jenna stares hard at me, then at Carl. Our family doesn't have records like yours, Carl. Carl frowns again. You say that like it's my fault. Maybe it is. Carl starts to sputter again, but I cut in before he can defend himself. See? Jenna doesn't talk like that. You wouldn't say something like that. Jenna doesn't say anything, keeping her glare at Carl. Carl clears his throat nervously. What I'm trying to say is that maybe your ancestor is in your head like mine was? I don't think so. Carl lets out a frustrated sigh. I mean, something's different with you, dude. I can see it. Chase sees it. A nod in confirmation. Raven suddenly cuts in. I mean, I don't know you that well, but if we're going by how a normal person acts, you're not acting very normal. We're not in a normal situation like that, are we? Carl shakes his head. I know you can resist it like I did, Jenna. You've always had a really strong mind, way stronger than mine. Carl swallows. So it shouldn't be a problem for you to stop it like I did. Jenna shrugs. Nothing's wrong with me, Carl. We all go quiet then. Jenna stares at Carl, eyes moving across his face like she's searching for something. Carl stares hard right back at her. Unless you don't want to fight it? Jenna's expression remains emotionless. I mean, are you letting him? I don't know, Carl. Are you letting him control you? No, I already told you I fought him out. How do we know that's true? Carl throws his hands up. Dude, why would I lie? Carl looks at me for some help. Yeah, Carl's way different than he was earlier. He's himself now. But how do you know that? I don't know what else to say to Jenna to convince her. Of course, I can't be completely sure. The only person that can know is Carl. He says he isn't possessed anymore, and I trust him on that. Jenna, he isn't, I promise. Is that supposed to be us saying that? Because, Carl saying he isn't is fucking weird. You think James kept his promises? Carl and I share a look. Jenna, what do you mean by that? A strange look crosses Jenna's face, breaking out of the stoic detachment she'd been portraying for the last however long it's been. It's confused, but it's also like she wants to say something with her mouth open. Jenna? She seems to be frozen like that for a moment before she seems to finally give up, shaking her head. I don't know. She glares at Carl. He blanches defensively. What? You keep acting like this is my fault. Maybe it is. This time Raven cuts in before Carl can say anything. Is James stopping John from saying something? I watch Jenna closely, and that's when she finally looks away. I don't know. Jenna, are John and James upset with one another? Jenna shrugs, not looking at me. Carl lets out a sigh of frustration. Jenna, we need to figure this out. Listen, I don't know much about these guys, but it sounds like James and John are trying to tell us something. Raven looks back and forth between Carl and Jenna. And trying to stop the other one from telling us something. I rub my face with my hands, feeling frustrated, just wishing these two assholes could tell us what it is they want to say. So they're trying to tell us something about the past, and they both don't want us to know what the other knows? Maybe that's what we're supposed to figure out. I close my eyes. We're stuck in the middle of a possessed ghost fight, with each of them trying to tell us their version of a story. The whole thing seems ridiculous, insane, but I really don't have anything else to go off of. Did you find anything else about him in the crawl space? I try to think back. They both got convicted of sodomy. John was hanged, but James left to start his ice cream business. Oh, why wasn't James hanged too? His influence in the town, probably. Well, I can see how that might cause problems between the two of them. I look over at Carl, who's still looking at Jenna. Jenna's picking at the rope in her lap. Hey, did James tell you anything while you were under his influence? Like, did he say anything? Carl rubs his chin. Not really. It's weird. I just sort of felt different. I said things I wouldn't normally say, but I guess I'd never heard any voices. There isn't much more to talk about at this point. Unless one of the spirits decides to do something else that can help us along somehow. So what are we supposed to do next exactly? Raven points at the back of the room. There's a door there. We all look in the direction he's pointing. Sure enough, there's a door there. It's a concrete door, practically cut out of the wall. It's featureless aside from a rusty metal handle. What, was that there before? I think I would have seen it the first time I looked in. Jenna stands up, taking a few steps towards the door. What, we're just gonna go through another door? Carl's laying back down on the floor on his back, staring up at the ceiling again. I can understand where he's coming from. Another door to possibly another nightmare? But his sudden reluctance is making it easier for me to find the strength to keep going. I reach out, resting a hand on his. Carl, this might be the last one. It might be the way out. Carl snorts. Seriously, dude, you think they're just gonna let us go? We've accomplished nothing. We can't leave here. We can leave you here if you'd prefer. I glare at Jenna, but she's not even looking at me. Instead, staring at the concrete door. Carl, we have to keep moving. If we go through another door, we're at least going somewhere. Yeah, and besides, the bad stuff has only happened to me and Jenna, so you guys probably have nothing to worry about. Have you forgotten my fucked up leg? We can't stay here forever. I gently stroke the back of Carl's furry hand. He laughs again. Maybe we could just keep pulling grilled cheese sandwiches out of the cupboard. Carl props himself up on his elbows. Who knows? Maybe I can get some weed out of there. Carl looks back into the hallway, apparently seriously considering that. Come on, man. We're all going in together. I reach out both my hands to him expectantly, since I can't get up on my own. Carl stares at him contemplatively for a moment, and finally gets to his feet while pulling me up onto his back with a loud grunt. Alright, man, but if this freaky spook ghost dimension goes on for another fucking door, I'm gonna pull a joint from the magic cupboard. Of course. Jenna's already standing in front of the door. Man, I don't want to pass out again. We just did that. I look back towards the hallway. You know, maybe we should check the rest. Jenna reaches to grab the metal handle, and before any of us can say anything more, she yanks it open. And we're gone again! God damn it. A trail leads through the desert landscape, and cacti and boulders obscure my view on the other side. The ground is rocky, and dust kicks up with each step I take. As I continue up the path, I can see the mountains. I'm heading toward the town of Echo, just over those mountains. As I get closer, I notice that the trail branches off towards the side of the mountain. I follow the trail with my eyes into the hazy distance, almost disappearing into the heat waves. Still, I can make out a small dark hole in the mine. Some things should just be left alone. Dust swirls silently at the mouth of the mine, almost sparkling in the bright moonlight. Every single person here. Something seems to pulse out of the entrance, sending an almost invisible wave through the air. You will never escape. You all will always come back. Red seeps from the hole, running up the side of the mountain in a wave, turning rock and dust the color of blood. You'll always be running in circles. I start jogging up the trail, panting in the desert heat, not sure what I'm doing. Ugh. The sky in front of me lights up that same ominous red color in the direction of Echo. Somehow I'm able to scale the side of the mountain in just seconds. I get to the peak and look over the edge. I see the town, but it's not the town I remember, at least not all of it. Lake Emma is in the distance to the left. The motel and the supermarket are to the right. But the ruins by the lake aren't just old foundation remnants anymore. They're fully standing now, with their log walls and roofs. Several dozen more houses run up the side of the lake, standing in stark contrast to the more modern buildings further away toward the main street. There are even a few buildings that I don't recognize. And there, just below me, is Carl's house. But it's different. The mansion is bigger, the walls are a lighter color, it looks older. Somehow I'm already there. Like I just teleported straight down the street to stand on the road in front of Carl's house. I stare down the slope towards the town, and there, next to the road, is a wooden platform built under a tree. There's a rope hanging from the tree. Yeah, a noose. I look back down at the town, at all the different buildings. But no matter which structure I'm looking at, one thing's the same. They're all lit up blood red. I watch as what looks like spinning blades come slowly into focus above me. Huh? This is a new house. I tense up, but only for a moment as I realize what it is. A ceiling fan. Wait, a ceiling fan? Isn't that... I sit up quickly, only to immediately swoon as the room starts to spin around me. I grip onto whatever I'm sitting on. It happens to be soft and smooth. I look down and see that I'm on top of a blue comforter. To my left, Jenna, Raven, and Carl are stretched out next to me on a king-size bed. To my right, sunshine streams in from sliding glass doors, outside of which is a massive deck. Past the porch are the mountains and desert of Echo. We're back. My God, we're back! Guys! I shake Carl next to me. He immediately swings a hand to slap at me, but I persist until he is forced to sit up, rubbing his sleep from his eyes. Jenna and Raven stir next to him. What is it? What happened? Guys, we're back! We're in your house, Carl! Carl finally snaps his eyes open at that. Raven sits up next to Carl, and I see him sway with the same dizziness that I had had earlier. Where are we? My parents' room. Carl's voice is hushed, quiet, as if he's afraid to speak too loudly. This'll all disappear. Relief like I've never known before flows through my body. Whether or not it was a dream or a hallucination, we were drugged somehow, it doesn't matter. What matters now is that we're home. Well, in Echo, at least. I look over at Jenna, hoping to see her back to her old familiar self, but I find her staring around suspiciously, that dark look still in her eyes. Maybe that would take a little while longer to wear off. I slowly push myself off the bed, the height of it making it more difficult for my feet to reach the ground. I touch down with my good foot, and I'm a bit surprised when my toes come to contact with the cold hardwood floor. I thought this room had carpet the last time I was in here. I look back at Carl, and I see a confused look on his face, the fur on his brow crinkling up in the bright sunshine. Something's a little off, man. What? Something's wrong. I feel the beginnings of that sinking sensation in my chest again. Why? My parents' room isn't this big. I look around. I guess it looks a bit bigger than usual. The balcony seems to be the right size, though. And the floor? He points at my feet. Where's the carpet? Carl confirms my suspicions. The dread continues to flow in my stomach. Maybe they took the carpet out while we were gone? Oh, you optimist. No one responds to that ridiculous idea. Jenna looks at the wall behind the bed and reaches out to touch it tentatively. Carl lets out a loud, almost maniacal laugh. It's like I'm in a weird dream of my house or something. The fuck? Carl pushes himself off the bed, his hooves clopping loudly, unnervingly against the hardwood floor that shouldn't exist. Fuck. Yeah, fuck. I can see the same emotions I feel in my chest playing out in Carl's eyes right now. He reaches out to give me some support. Well, maybe there are other people here? Even Raven's cheerful tone is forced and strained. I guess I was expecting that we'd end up in another dream world or whatever. But the fact that I had thought for just a moment that we were back in the real world made all this the more soul-crushing. It feels like those fucking ghosts are toying with us at this point. I take a deep breath, willing myself not to lose it. Not yet, at least. Chase, I'm going to move to the deck. I get a better grip on Carl's side as he starts to move towards the glass doors, his hooves clopping while I hop along. He stares out, slowly reaching up with a hand to tug out the handle. To my surprise, it opens. I guess I thought there would be the same as the last place we were in, that we'd be locked in or something. I follow Carl as he steps out onto the balcony, taking slow, careful steps if he's afraid the deck may give out. It's the same deck. The air is hot and heavy, almost humid. That isn't normal at all in Echo. Sure, it would get really hot, but it's a desert. Humidity is near non-existent. We reach the railing and stare out at the town below the foothills that Carl's mansion sits on. I'd taken a soft breath. Just like in the dream I had, the ruins of Echo aren't ruins anymore. Dozens of old-fashioned wooden buildings dot the edge of the lake. A little ways away, I see the familiar buildings of the motel and supermarket along with the small neighborhood of my childhood. And along Main Street, I see a few buildings that I don't recognize. You're in the past. You're in the past. But you're an echo. You're in the past. Not quite as old-fashioned as the buildings along the lake, but still pretty old-looking. The hell? Carl almost whines out the words as I see him grip tightly into the railing. I move closer to his side, putting an arm around his shoulders. Come on, man. We're going to figure this out. This is just... I struggle to figure out what this just is, but I come up short. Listen, I saw this in a dream, and I think they were trying to tell me something. What dream? A dream I had before I woke up. I have them almost every time we pass out. Why are you the only one having these dreams? I jump as Jenna speaks right behind me. I turn around, finding her eyeing me suspiciously. I don't know. None of you had dreams? I did. Raven pops his head from around the glass door, still with that bizarrely resilient grin on his face. But it was about that black shadow creature thing chasing me through the kitchen. So I guess it's not really useful. What did you see in your dream, Chase? Well, I whip my hand around the alternate reality town. But then the mine, too. Like red stuff spread out over the town. Then I saw a noose. I instinctively look over the edge of the balcony down toward where I remember seeing the tree. Carl looks too. What is it? I saw a tree with a noose on it. Carl looked slowly back up at me. Down there? I think so. Look of utter defeat? Question mark? And Carl's face has me hesitating to confirm it. What the fuck? Take a deep breath, trying to put what I feel into words. That dream, the way it zeroed in on the tree, it felt meaningful. I think we need to go to it. Jesus, why? Carl buries his face in his hands as he leans against the railing, shaking his head slowly from side to side. I don't know, but I don't know where else to start. This place is massive. So what, they put another letter there for us to find for some reason? Maybe. Guys? Carl keeps his head in his hands as I turn around. Raven is still standing by the glass door, but he's looking back into the room. Jenna left. What? Sure enough, Jenna is nowhere to be seen. Where'd she go? Raven shrugs. Downstairs, I guess. Is she going to the tree? I start to move back into the house, then remember my destroyed ankle. I look back to see Carl is still slumped against the railing. Carl? He doesn't look up. Carl, we need to keep moving. Finally, the Ram pulls his head out of his arms and turns to help me. He gets me into our familiar position with me clinging to his neck while I hop along. I'm relieved he's actually moving, but I don't like the dull look in his eyes one bit. Hey, look at this surprisingly modern living room with the TV and everything. Raven, Carl, and I head down the hall towards the stairs. Carl's right, it's like a dream of Carl's house. Carl mentions that there are a few extra doors, all of which lead into bare hardwood floor rooms. The ground level of the house, though, looks mostly normal. As we make our way through Carl's sort of home, I realize something. You guys hear the trains when we were on the deck? Maybe. Why? I thought I did, just kind of weird. Like, what are trains doing in a world that isn't really real? Maybe it is real. Maybe. I'm not convinced. As we pass through the living room, I can see that it's set up like it always is, and the kitchen looks to be in order as well. As we step outside, I notice the mansion looks the same for the most part, not the massive old look that I had in my dream. I hop along down the curving driveway from Carl's house like I remember in my dream. How Jenna would be able to find the tree on her is beyond me. I imagine on her own. The only indication I'd given her as to where it was to glance over the railing of the deck. Man, it's so fucking close to being real, this place. Yeah. I don't have much to add, but he's right. It feels so close to being home, but none of it is home. I slow my pace as I turn right at the end of Carl's driveway, practically tugging the Ram along. We move the short distance down the road, then move to the edge of the left side of the road. I look down over the side, over the rocky sagebrush-covered slope. And there's Jenna. Somehow she immediately found it on her own. That old and rickety wooden platform sits underneath a tree. Under the tree. This tree and platform definitely aren't in the real Echo. There were a few scant mentions of a hanging tree in my research. If it was still standing, I'd have gone to get some film for my project. That project seems like something I was working on years ago at this point. Carefully start to climb down the slope, clinging to Carl. I'm about to call out to Jenna when I stop cold. As we moved to the side, the thick trunk of the tree shifted into my field of view and revealed the noose. Unlike my dream, the noose isn't empty. Hanging from the noose is a body. Oh, fuck! From where I'm standing, I can't see exactly what it is. Its back is to us. All I can make out is a head, hand, and feet, and some old-fashioned clothes, overalls, and a cotton shirt of some kind. The clothes look worn and old, like they've been sitting out in the elements for years. I stop moving, instead staring at the body. Carl freezes too, and I can feel his ragged breathing in my ear. Jesus. Carl gasps. I stare for what feels like an entire minute before I find my voice. Jenna? She's also facing the body, so I can't see her face, but she holds up a hand towards me to quiet me before slowly pacing around the platform. Looks like she's moving towards the front, so I steel myself and slowly follow her. I don't want to look at the body as I move, but I can't tear my eyes away. It's old, very old. The fur is mostly gone, the skin underneath black and leathery. The face is drooping and sunken, the eyelids closed. It's been out in the sun for a very long time. I don't know much about corpses, so I don't know how long. I just know it's been a very long time. For what I can tell, it's a canine of some kind. A fox? John? For some reason, I look towards Jenna to see if she'll let us know who it is. She doesn't, instead just staring at the body. Carl tightens his grip around my shoulders. I'm not sure if it's for support against the uneven ground or the horror in front of us. Raven has chosen not to follow. Instead, he stands back behind the platform, looking away from the body. I swallow hard, trying to keep my nerves under control, trying to look at the situation like it's a simple task. Do you guys see anything? A note or something? I try to search the platform and avoid looking up at the body. There's something in its mouth. Oh God, why the mouth? Carl points up at the corpse with a shaking finger. He's right. There's a flash of white in the mouth of the corpse, just barely sticking out from what look like gnarled teeth. A piece of paper, maybe? I'm surprised at how successful I am at keeping my voice calm. I sort of feel numb to all of this now. But I think we're both realized at the same time what this means. We're gonna have to actually get that piece of paper. Fuck, man, why do we have to do this? Why don't they just tell us what they want us to know? I cling to Carl as much as he's clinging to me, trying to keep him calm. Listen, I'll get it. It's just a body. No, it's not. Nothing's just as it is in this fucked up place. Jenna suddenly turns on the two of us, causing us both to flinch back from her. Chase, you need to get it. What? Wait, why? You can't even fucking walk. I can crawl. He had the dream. They want him to be the one to get it. He volunteered anyway. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. Why the hell don't you get it? Carl has adjusted himself so that he's standing halfway in front of me protectively. Because that's what they want. That's bullshit. If you know something, Jenna, then why don't you fucking tell us? Carl's snarling at Jenna now, which is all the more impressive because the Rams can't snarl. We can't be doing this right now. Here we are in this fucked up dimension in front of a mummified corpse arguing. Put my hand against Carl's chest. Listen, I'll get it. This is what they want, and this will help us move forward. I try not to think about actually going up to the wooden steps to stand in front of the corpse, but I really have no other options right now. Carl doesn't loosen his hold on me. Fuck no, Jenna. You get it since you seem to know what the fuck is going on. Carl squeezes me tighter against his chest as he leans in to glare at Jenna. Jenna glares right back, and I can see her lips trembling as she appears to be holding back her own snarl. Stop it, Carl. Let go. I'm going to get the paper. No, Chase. Carl, nothing bad has happened when it comes to getting these stupid pieces of paper. I'll be fine. Carl looks down at me, his face etched with the stubborn resoluteness. It's at least a nice change from the almost dead look that I'd seen earlier. He stares at me hard for a good long while, to the point where I almost blush until finally, fine, but I'm coming up with you. I don't think... Shut up, Jenna. Each word seems to have to work hard to get itself out of Carl's muzzle. It's okay. Let's go. I let Carl hold my hand as we both move towards the platform over uneven ground. I notice Raven standing off to the side, still facing away from us. I'd have to check on him later. The wood creaks softly under our feet as we make our way up to the steps. I focus on my hoping foot. It's a foot full of hope. Not wanting to look at the body. Once we reach the top, though, I realize that I'm going to have to. Leaning heavily against Carl for support, I look up. The corpse's eyes are open now! No! Two yellow piercing eyes that are sunk deep in the skull stare back at me. Oh my god! Don't show a picture of this shit! To be continued!